So for people who have joined us newly on Instagram, Aarabi Veeraraghavan is a dancer, performer, mother to Nandan and cute Aarabi. She also is an avid reader, blogger, the person who enjoys styling herself, who also enjoys cooking, baking, and having that time for herself. On the whole, she's a super mom who juggles between different hats that she adorns.
So glad to have you on our platform, Aarabi. So
thank you so much, and this is lovely. Thank you so much. And this is, I mean, Avanti calling me a super mom is hilarious because look at the number of things she does.
No, just to put it, because I've seen you doing so many things and Avanti doing so many things. I would say all. So
yeah,
you're both.
We're all super parents here.
Also mothers and super moms.
Oh yeah. See, I have told already people that how you're doing like many things. The first question is going to be, how do you manage to do it all?
Not micromanage, not sweating the small things, plan, prioritize, and outsource. If somebody offers to help you with your child, just say thank you. As long as it's a reliable person, say thank you very much. If somebody says, you know what, I'll send you dinner tonight, don't say, oh, no. If you have a rehearsal, if you have a deadline, if you have a meeting, say, yes, please send me dinner. Don't try to do everything. Really just prioritize, because I think it's also important in this whole hustle world. It's also very important to take time out, because if you just keep hustling, you're going to burn out. We've all been that person, and we've all learned to not be that person. So I think, and also trust, trust your partners, trust. Not everybody is blessed to have a family or a community which is, willing to take care of their child or be part of that village. If you don't have that community, then build that community for yourself. Friends. I have friends who, if they have a concert, they'll just be like, I'm going to leave my child with you. And that's fine. I know if I have something, I can just leave my child with them. Build a community for yourselves, a real life community, because it does take a village. And if you, without that village in place, and you don't need to be born into that village. You don't need to marry that village. Lots of single parents here who do just great. Make that village for yourself as much as you can. Because without that, that's the basic. Without that, you really can't do anything else. It's hard. I mean, I'm not going to say it's blanket to say you can't. I'm sure there are people who can. But it's easier when you have that community having your back all the time.
I totally understand that. And since you told like it actually takes a village to raise a child, how big is your village, your support system?
Mine is massive, because I come from a very big family. I lost my dad recently, but till then he was around too. I have my mom, my mother-in-law. My father-in-law passed away much before Nandan was born, so he's not in the picture. But Nandan has 2 grandmothers, and then I have a brother-in-law, I have a sister, and I have cousins, aunts, uncles. Nandan has about 8 or 9. It's a huge family, basically. And then I have friends. A lot of friends who, some that I have been friends with from much before I had a child, but lots that have become friends after having a child. Some of the closest friends I have made as an adult have been people, that I met either on parenting forums when Nandan was an infant, or here on Instagram. Avanti for one, we met on Instagram. So my village is ever expanding.
That's wonderful to hear. Do you want to ask her about?
So in these lockdown times, so all of us, it's warranted that we all stay indoors. So though we spend some quality time with children, so there's always this guilt between mothers or parents in general that we're not spending enough time with a child. So how do they get out of that guilt and still take them some time for themselves too?
I think this is very important, because somehow, especially for women, the driving force behind our whole parenting philosophy seems to be guilt. And I think that's very unfair and very counterproductive. I say women because I'm a woman. I'm sure the guilt manifests itself very differently for men, and the pressure is on for men also, for fathers also. But for me, I've been through that whole gamut, right? Overdoing things, not doing anything, feeling guilty, wondering if I'm doing enough. Nobody knows. Nobody knows if we're doing enough or if we're doing too much. All I can say is it's okay to not do something with your child. You don't need to keep your child engaged 24/7. You don't need to keep doing things. You are not the school. You don't need to become teacher, mother, everything for the child. Best friend. Oh, my child can't go out and play with his friends, so I need to be his best friend. No. Your child will find other things to do. For those of you who know Tamil, when we were growing up in the 80s and 90s, if you went and told an adult, I am bored, bore adikarudhu in Tamil, they'll say, bore a thiruppi adi.
Yeah.
It's exactly that, for me, this whole lockdown, because Nandan also has like a big social circle. He has friends here. He has, he's constantly doing play dates. He has his football and this and that and school. And without all of that, I thought he's going to struggle. But looks like the children are much, they're more pliant. They are just much easier than the adults. This lockdown, I think, is harder on us than on them in many ways, right? And I think we should just let them be. It's okay for a child to be bored, because when you just leave them to their own devices, they're going to do their own thing. Like this guy, I don't know what he was doing inside. Now he's going to go back. Go.
I want to get the phone.
Go. Take it and go. So, what was I saying? So, you leave them to their own devices. They're going to be fine. We don't need to micromanage their day also. Because this is, like we have all been saying, this is a pandemic. Nobody's ever been in this situation before. So it's not a productivity test. It's okay. If there's a day when you have the energy and the mental space for it, do something. Do a craft, or bake, or cook. Do something that you've always wanted to do with your child. Especially if you're a working parent and you don't have the kind of, you don't have a long number of hours to spend with your child. Use this time, but on days when you have the mental and physical band space, because your mental health is as important. Because we have all this adult anxiety combined with parenting guilt. It's too much for anybody to handle.
True.
Yeah. So I have seen Nandan. So how independent is Nandan, and how important do you think is to raise a independent child? Though they are around us, yet they keep themselves engaged, not to forget the fact they are bubbling with energy.
So I think there are many factors here. One being the child himself or herself. Each child has their own personality and their own needs, and they're different. But for me, I was an extremely independent to the point of being Tandoni child. Nobody could tell me what to do. I just did my own thing, and I think I grew up like that. I was respectful. I knew boundaries, and I used to, really. Avanti, you froze for a second.
Yeah.
So I think with Nandan, he's similar in that way. He does his own thing, and he's extremely independent, but he's safe. He knows how to. I think key here is conversation. Trust your child. Mm-hmm. Your child is extremely intelligent. Trust your child. Don't let the child do unsafe things like, go stick their head into the stove. That's ridiculous. But let them, if they say, I want to walk ahead of you, and it's a safe space, let them walk ahead of you. You're right there. You're 2 steps behind. Don't say you have to hold my hand. Of course, it's a crowded mall. Just say, hold my hand. But if it's an open space, little things like this go a long way in building their confidence. And I think that confidence is what is going to see them through, because school, comes, you can't keep protecting them forever. All you can do is use these years when you have more control over their schedule and their day to empower them and give them a mechanism of coping, make them understand what accountability is. It may seem like a big word, but it's very, very simple. It's like saying you played with your toys, you put your toys away. I'm not going to tell you that you can't play with your toys. I'm not going to say, if you play with your toys, then I have to pick them up. You play with your toys, you create a mess, you clean up after yourself. So I think tiny, everyday things like that go a long way in building a child who's independent. And being independent does not mean that they don't need you. They still need you. They're babies. They still need you. But it's just that they have their own opinion. They have their own thought. Involve your child in everyday decisions, Ask them, what shall we cook for dinner? And involve them in that decision. Things like that really go a long way. Let them, empower them to make their own decisions, basically, and listen to them. Tell them that we value and respect your opinion. Because they are children. They're their own people. They're not an extension or reflection of you or your partner. So I think it's really important to treat them as thinking, intelligent, wonderful little human beings that they are.
Yeah, you touched wonderful points. Right from understanding them, giving them their space, listening to them, empowering them, and also respecting their ideas and thoughts. Yeah, I think we all should understand that and give them their own space too at times. And one main thing I wanted to ask you about is, see, both of us are we are freelancing. We can have our flexible schedules, and the transition before and after a kid into a career was not a big deal. But how do you think the change works for a working woman with fixed work routine and schedule?
Absolutely. I think people like you and me who anyway, like a lot of our work is done by ourselves. Right? It's just us and in our space, we probably work out of home. We can work out of a room, we can work out of a car if we need to. Right? So for us, I think it's easy, but it's also very difficult in some ways because you don't get that physical break away from home. Yeah. It's like working from home, no? It's the same trap. So for me personally, getting back in physical form was a challenge because, I had to be back in the studio about a couple of months after Nandan was born. And in order to go back to the studio and start performing and training and, rehearsing again, because we were just making a new piece, a contemporary dance piece. To do that, you're going up against dancers who are at their peak fitness levels, and you've gone through the whole process of birthing. So I had to work a little extra hard to get my strength and endurance and generally everything, alignment and everything back in. But once that happened, like you said, it's easier for us because rehearsals are flexible. You can take your child to work. There have been so many days when I've just taken my child to work. To the rehearsal, he'll be there. If I go to dance class, I still remember my guru, Master was alive then. Master will be carrying Nandan and doing kuchpudi upstairs with the baby, and we'll be having class downstairs. And if Nandan cries, he'll bring him down. I used to wear Nandan in a carrier and continue dancing. It's happened, right? And at home when I'm practicing, if when he was an infant, if he wanted to be picked up, I'd put him in a carrier and continue dancing. So in that way, it's easier. For working women, especially if you're a breastfeeding mother, oh my God, this whole cycle of pumping, building a stash, and then you're leaving your child with another caregiver. It could be a parent, it could be an in-law, it could be a nanny, it could be anybody. But it's still not you there, right? As the child gets older, it's easier. But if it's a very young child, a pre-verbal child, then it becomes harder. Oh goodness, that all night sitting and pumping and you're so anxious and stressed out, so your body doesn't respond. You stop, your lactation suffers, and then you have the guilt of supplementing with formula because you've been told that you're a bad parent if you don't breastfeed. And it's all other people's opinions which keep crowding in on our heads. Again, guilt. I think any working parent or stay-at-home parent for that matter, it's not like guilt is, if you're a stay-at-home parent, you'll be shamed and guilted in another way. Just many ways of guilting women. I say women here because I'm a woman, but I know men also are guilted. But going back to the whole stay-at-home, going back to work, it's physically harder because, for a lot of women, they need to leave to work by the time, by the time they leave to work, the child is barely awake. And when they come back, the child is so sleepy and done for the day and maybe already in bed. And then there is this constant guilt. You go to work and there you're expected, in a lot of organizations, even today, you're expected to behave like you haven't had a child. It's a man's world. I think more workspaces need to become inclusive for better productivity. How hard is it going to be for a big office to have a creche or a nursery or a care center with 5 or 6 designated, caretakers for babies, so the mothers can be productive and come in and check on their babies whenever they want to? I think without that, it's just the entire system. I know it's slowly changing, but this entire system seems to be wired towards telling women that they can't succeed unless they're prepared to live like men. And that's not fair.
Yeah.
A man can have a child and go back to work in a week. A woman can't. And a woman shouldn't have to either.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a privilege or it's gloating of any kind. I think it's a basic right. And women shouldn't have to give up on their careers because they reproduced. Because yes, being a mother is a full-time job, but I also love my career. If you ask me to give up on dancing, because I have a child, I won't. Because it's important. That does not make me a bad mother. I've been called all kinds of things, from vain to, oh my God, look at you, you're so vain, you're working out already, your child is 2 weeks old. I need to get back to work.
Yeah.
And when I toured for the first time, Nandan was not yet 2. He was 23 months old. And I just weaned him. And this was a long performance tour. I was gone for more than a week. The amount of guilt that I got from strangers, none from my family, none from my immediate support system. The amount of, they were like beyond supportive. In fact, they were the ones who said, just go, get out of the house, go, leave. The amount of guilt I got from random strangers in real life. Oh, you're here for 2 weeks, is it? Who's taking care of your child? Yes, I have left a 2-year-old child alone at home with my dog. So
I think almost all the mothers can relate to you.
Sorry?
Yeah. I think almost all the mothers can relate to you. I see some messages, you're speaking our mind out. Yeah.
It's the same story in different variations everywhere, no?
I think day in and out, we are all encircled with opinions from others, not even from the family, the strangers. And I think at some
mostly
point of time,
strangers.
yeah. I think at some point of time we have to chuck all of it, and we have to internalize what we want and just go on.
Absolutely. And especially if you have a job which takes you to office and back, let's say, but if you are a designer, artist, freelancer, then the nature and value of your work also constantly gets undermined. What is going to happen if you don't dance for 2 years? Nothing. It's not like you're making that much money anyway. It's not like you guys are strapped for cash. Then why do you want to dance? Ridiculous things like that. And they expect an answer too. But let me tell you this, you don't owe anybody an answer. As long as you know that you are doing what you and if you have a partner in the picture, then you and your partner. If you have another primary caregiver who is sharing the load of your parenting, I'm not reading the comments because from where I'm sitting, it's a bit hard to read the comments, but we'll come back to that later. All I can say is that as a parent, if you think you are doing what is right by your child, then you are, because it's your child, your context, and it's your job. And let me tell you this, I don't think I was raised by a stay-at-home parent. She was a stay-at-home mom by choice, but then she went on to start her own. And then once I was a bit older, my mom trained to be a Montessori educator, and she ran a Montessori for many, many decades. Her sister, on the other hand, has worked all her life. I don't think my cousin and I share any different relationships with their mothers. One had a stay-at-home parent, other had a working mom, an educator. She was a professor in a college. So I think both of us love and respect our mothers equally for who they were and the choices that they made. So I don't think you going to work is going to make you any less of a parent. I don't think your child is going to say, oh, you left me at home when I was 3 months old and you went to work.
Yeah.
Your Pakatavita mommy may keep saying that to you for the rest of your life, but your child won't.
Probably your child is going to be very happy about it when they get more.
Exactly. Because you're setting an example for them, no? To go
From whatever you were telling us right now, I think your parenting was a lot inspired by your mother.
Very.
So when
Absolutely.
we are doing when we are following our own intuition, we are following our own dreams, I think even our children will have the courage to do the same, right? At some point of time,
Absolutely,
we have
yes.
to do it for them.
Absolutely. We are their first heroes and role models, right? It's a very scary thought, because if you do something ridiculous, you're normalizing that for your child. And your child is, it's like, there will come a time when they'll grow up and they'll realize you're not invincible. Till then, they have so much trait. This is a chance for you to become the most honest version of yourself. If you're having a bad day, it's okay to have it in front of your child. As long as you're going to talk to your child about it and say, listen, Amma's just having a bad day. Amma just felt like crying. So now I'll be better. Also tell your child that, see, I will talk about this. I will do these things which will make me feel better, and I will feel better after that. So you don't need to hide your emotions from your child, but also show your child how you resolve your own conflicts. I think that is very, very important. You can't, like we started this, saying at the beginning of this, we can't keep protecting our children from everything, even from ourselves.
So while we are talking to Aarabi, we can't keep Aaragi Not coming in the scene.
Where is she?
So, yeah.
Aarabi is currently napping in the bedroom. She's napping at 4:25. Very, very serious guard dog.
Aarabi, like, how important do you think Aarabi plays a role in Nandan's life? Especially, I don't have a pet at home, but every time I see Nandan and Aarabi together, I myself feel like giving Veera, okay, but she's been asking me to get a pet for a long time. I'm
You
like,
should.
why not?
I'm going
So
to
please
slowly
tell-
start. Once Dheera's back in Madras, I'm going to start dropping in and slowly suggesting. You know, there are a lot of puppies outside your house, Dheera. Let's go befriend a few. No, but Nandan's first word was Aragi.
Aarabi and Nandan's journey.
Nandan's first word was Aragi. Aggi was his first word. Not Amma, not Amma.
Oh,
So,
I'll make sure I tell him when I meet him next.
So no, the thing about having but remember that if you are going to bring a pet into your house, a pet is not a toy. It's not a photo op for your child. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, so cute, I want a pet. A pet is another child. It's another member of your family. It takes a lot of work. There will be times when you will have to reschedule holidays. And you will also have to constantly teach the child boundaries. You have to say, listen, you can't go pull. If you go pull the dog's tail, the dog will bite you. So you can't go pull the dog's tail. You can't say, I bought the dog. You don't buy a dog. You adopt. Or even if you are, paying money for a pedigree dog, it's not a toy that you're buying and bringing it to the house for your child to do whatever he or she wants to with. From day zero, Nandan has heard gentle hands, always, So you have to teach the dog and the child to respect each other's boundaries. And you also have to make sure that if you have a dog, if you've had a dog before you had a child, then please don't drive your dog away because you have a baby now and some random person on the street said, oh, it's unsafe. It's not. In fact, all medical research, and my father was a doctor, all medical research points to the fact that children growing up with dogs don't have an increased propensity to allergies or anything. They have mild allergies. There are many cases where if a child has severe allergies, then talk to your doctor. If not, just let the child and the dog be. I mean, obviously, don't let them eat from the same plate. That's bound to happen at some point. I mean, I have a Lady and the Tramp spaghetti photograph of these two, where they both accidentally ended up eating the same noodle. Yeah. So things like that will happen, but it's okay. You really need to, you need to keep telling yourself, there'll be multiple voices all around you telling you to, my child just climbed up on a counter to fill water for himself. So there will be multiple voices constantly telling you that what you're doing is not right. Go with your gut instinct.
Yeah.
Okay. And think long and hard. Yes, the dogs that you see on Instagram are very cute, but remember that these are seasoned, experienced pet owners. Even if they are not, they are people who have committed to raising a dog and a child together. Also, you don't see the other side of it. Okay, so don't get taken in by these cute. There'll be cute pictures, but there will also be scratched noses. There will also be times when you have to keep the dog and the child separate because they will be getting on each other's nerves. So it's like having two children in the house. So there are times, but if you do all that, your child has a companion who will lay his or her life down for you and your family and your child. I had 4 dogs who were all bigger than me when I was a child. We had Doberman and German Shepherds. And nobody could even come and stand in front of my sister and me and, point a finger at them at us, because the dogs would all be on alert. That is the kind of, this is the kind of unconditional love that only a dog can bring.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And for a child to really understand what that is, I think it's a big privilege. In fact, I wish I had the space for more dogs.